everybody, and welcome to another episode from the ArdaCraft server. I'm joined by two of my friends, Fornad, who runs the whole shebang here.
Hello.
Hello, Fornad. And the most festive Minecrafter in all of the land, the great Jermsy boy, of course.
Hi.
And my name's Fix. If you're seeing this on Jerm's channel, you probably recognize us as we've been doing a lot of things together. So Fornad, what are we looking at today?
So today we're starting at the kind of a wool or a grass map that kind of represents what we've built so far on the server. So if you fly up and look around, you can kind of see that we have these sort of mini representations of mountains and cities and roads. And essentially it shows what we have on the map so far, what we've built so far over the past 4.5 years. And it's a really good resource for new players to kind of explore the map, warp to different locations, and then come back to this small map in order to find out more.
This is an amazing idea. Like, I love every single aspect of this. Jerm, we got to build one of these.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. We should totally do this for Vasten.
Yeah. Fortnite, is this to some sort of scale?
I don't know what the scale of this one is in particular. No. No, the other thing I was going to point out is so everything you see that's in wool is stuff that is planned to be added but isn't added yet, and everything that's kind of in the more natural materials is all stuff that's already here. So that's kind of how we demonstrate to players that, yeah, okay, we have a big map, but it's going to get a lot bigger in the future as well.
Sure, I really like that idea, and always looking forward to. And plus, you guys have like a team of people that works on sort of the world edit part of building the landscape before you add it to the map, right? So that kind of gives them an idea of where they're going and what they're building too, I imagine.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's such a good idea. It shows the roads, and plus I would imagine with your warp system, it's so nice to be able to, if you get lost or something, you can say, oh, I was over there. Okay, and learning the landscape from an aerial perspective would probably be really nice as well.
That's it as well. Yeah, I mean, we do have a Dyn map that's obviously a lot more detailed than this is, but this is a really good way of kind of exploring it in a more interactive way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for my money, I would prefer this every day over like a web-based thing, because you're here, I'm standing in grass, you know, that to me makes it real. And maybe easier to apply. And like, I know the bedrock wall is always facing that way, you know, so just avoid it.
Of course, yeah.
I don't remember Tolkien writing about that, but maybe I didn't read
the Great Bedrock Wall.
Yeah.
No, it's no, it's very obscure part of the lore or something.
Well, what are we
should we
seeing
go to our
today?
first location?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Well, today we're going to be focusing on the kind of some of the ruins we've been making on the server, and I'll try to go through some of the more basic lore behind them, and then go through maybe some of the build processes we went through in order to make them. So we're going to start at Weathertop.
Cool. Oops.
Whoa. Oh gosh, what did I just hit?
Oh no, I can't do it.
Can you do /more
Oh, yeah, me
Weathertop?
neither.
I might be able to CP you guys. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that worked. I couldn't bring up
Okay,
chat. I'm not
there
sure
we go.
why, but
There we go.
oh, because I turned it off. That's why. I
Yeah,
turned off chat. Okay. So here we are. So now this, I remember this from the movies.
Yes, this is quite a famous location. So this is Weathertop, also known as Amon Sul, which means the Hill of Wind in Sindarin. And essentially, this was at one time an enormous tower that kind of overlooked the lands in central Eriador. And it was built by a kingdom called Arnor. Now, that's a name that's not super familiar to kind of a more casual Tolkien fan. But essentially, they are the northern equivalent of Gondor. They were founded by the same sort of people. But they just existed in the north rather than far in the south with Minas Tirith and so on with Gondor. But they fell apart about 1,000 years ago, and a lot of their ruins and so on still kind of dot the land and dot the landscape. And it's been a really interesting project for us to kind of figure out what this ancient civilization would have looked like, how we're going to make ruins look realistic and make them look old enough, and go from there. So this is basically all that remains of what once was a huge tower on top of this hill.
This is really cool. This is
Yeah, I love this.
just having this stuff just like kind of along the road. I mean, Jerm and I, the reason sort of we're here, in addition to just looking at it and seeing how cool it is sort of also what can we impart to like our vanilla worlds and what can we bring to Vasten and stuff like that. And having this kind of stuff that's maybe just at the edge of render, if you're walking along the road, just is crazy. It's so immersive and cool, and yeah, I love it. I mean, you guys are building it because it has, I mean, I don't know, historical fact. I don't know if it's fictional historical fact.
Yeah.
Where we would just be making it up as we go. But I love the idea of it. I love the idea of ruins alongside roads, especially. This is where Frodo got stabbed, right?
This is where Frodo was stabbed by the Nazgul. Yeah. So in the film, he was on top of the hill. He was in amongst those ruins where he was stabbed. But in the book, it's slightly different. So in the book, they made a camp. If you come down the side of the hill here, down to the west, they made a camp in this little hollow at the bottom of the hill here.
Oh, yeah.
And the Nazgul actually attacked in here. They did go up to the top of the hill earlier on, but in the book they actually are in here, and the Nazgul kind of come over the edge of this little dell here and attack. Now, this server is set well before that happens, but what we have decided to do here is to include a little a ranger camp. And the rangers were a group of people who essentially descended. They were the last remnant of the people who had once built all these great structures and cities. And this is all that's left of them, really. So they wander the land. And of course, Aragorn was the chief of the Rangers at this time.
Now, so that's a question I have. So in this world, you're building to a specific date, right? Like time doesn't move for you. You're kind of aiming at one day in time.
Yeah. So well, it's not a specific. I think it is. Well, it depends who you ask, but I always say September of 3006. So to put that in context, it's 5 years after Bilbo's birthday party in the book,
okay,
and about 12 years before the kind of main events of Lord of the Rings.
Hey everybody, we're back. We had a couple of technical glitches, but for now we're in a new place.
We are indeed. So this is or was the great city of Annuminas. So we were just at Weathertop, which was a tower built by the civilization who built this place. But this was their capital city, and you can imagine that the capital city of a civilization that was once as large as France, covering a massive area of Middle Earth, would have to be grand and very imposing, and it was indeed at one time. But as you can tell, it had seen better days, to put it mildly. About 2,500 years ago, it was abandoned by the people here, who chose a more defensible location to the east, and it fell into decay. And as you fly around, you can see that, especially if you fly above the ruins, you can really tell where all the old streets used to be, where the houses used to be, some of the larger buildings, and it was a mighty city at one point, for sure.
Now, when you're planning out something that's this big and this extensive, do you do it do you plan out the streets, even though it's ruins? Like, it would be, I mean, I would probably not plan out ruins the same as planning out a city. Is there any difference if you're planning out something that is only going to be basically cobblestone and stuff, marking where buildings used to be?
Well, yeah, so we don't tend, I mean, apart from the bigger buildings, the ones that are obviously something, we don't necessarily plan out, we don't say, oh, this house was a carpenter, because at this level of ruination, there's just no point in
Right.
saying that. But when it comes to streets and stuff, absolutely, we stick to the same standards that we have for normal builds, because the city, even though it's ruined, it still has to make sense.
Sure.
And so, we base it all on that. So as you fly further west in the city, you get towards the older high-class districts, and at the extreme west of the city, you have the King's Old Palace, which is kind of the raised thing on the different tiers. That was where the palace was. To your left, you have the Great Throne Room or Throne Hall, and then kind of between those two, in the kind of southwest, you have a great old tower, which is what Annuminas was named after. Annuminas means, I think it means Tower of the West or something along those lines. Yeah.
This is great. So when you just take me through the planning stage, like when you say you sit down, you're like, okay, we're gonna start this giant city here. What's the first thing that you do? Do you mark off districts or roads or houses or the important buildings, or what's
yeah?
The
So
order of that?
we tend to plan in wool for everything. So what we did for this city was we planned out all the houses in wool. Obviously, people make an application on the forums first, and we talk through the city and we say, okay, well, what would have it included? Which buildings do we want to include? where do we want the walls to be, and then we come up with some concept designs for the walls and the houses, and then we plan it all out in wool, and then essentially we work on converting those wool outlines and so on into proper ruins. When it comes to some of the bigger buildings, generally those are handled by our more experienced builders, but for the general houses and that sort of thing, they're just built by your average Joe in terms of the builders on here, if there is such a thing. So that's how we tend to do it, and we tend to do it that way for every project. So when it comes to ruins, it isn't really all that different in some ways.
So do you plan out are the streets like when I'm talking when you first start? See even docks over here. It's really cool, really just forward thinking.
Oh yeah.
So when you when you first start in an area, what's like the first thing you lay out? Like how does that? So in Vasten, we're just starting a new kingdom now, and we just it's survival, so it's a little bit different. You have to have a little bit, you have to have some things kind of in the beginning. But what's the very first thing you put down? Do you put down roads or the palace?
The roads for sure. The roads are the number one thing. So a mistake I see a lot of people make when they plan out a city in this game is that they place the houses down first, and then they put the streets in after. And actually, that's not how the world works, right? Because you get a street that exists, like a road or a way, something that's sort of previously there, and then people build houses along that street or along that road. So it's not like, especially with older cities, it's not like modern city planning where it's all planned out in beforehand in big grids and everything is very ordered and so on. What happened in ancient cities was things happened in a more haphazard way. Now, Annuminas is a bit of a weird case because we based it a lot on Roman architecture and Roman buildings. And so the Romans were pretty good at actually planning out cities in quite an organized way. But in general, if you're building kind of older style cities or towns, you've got to plan out the roads first. Those roads are not going to be the most organized things in the world. And then you're going to build houses kind of along those roads.
That makes so much sense. And I got to tell you, I have never, ever planned roads first. Jerm, do you do that?
Sometimes. It really just depends. Sometimes I just like to start building houses first, just get the style, but yeah, sometimes I plan out the roads first.
It really does make a lot of sense. Maybe that's something we should consider in our new kingdom, actually, is kind of figure out where the roads and stuff are going to be, just to help people butt the houses right up next to it. Because you're right, that's how the real world works, and it's not something I've actually really ever considered. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. This is really unbelievable. Like I'm looking at the building now. It's near the palace, kind of off to the left. Has like by the way, Fortnite's not in game right now. We found with his to get the best voice connection, it was best if he just kind of follows us on the Dynamap. But I don't know how to describe it. It has like grass roofs. Maybe it used to be like, it looks like a Grand Central Station almost, but overgrown. Are you still with us?
I am, but this may be very bad connection. Oh, hang on. Hello,
I hear you.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. It was just showing as red on Discord. Yeah, so the place you're in now, that was the throne room. So that you would have had a throne at the kind of extreme southern end there, and you can tell it was once this huge place. What we've based it on is actually it is a almost one-to-one copy of a place called the Basilica of Maxentius in Rome, and which you can go and see still to this day. At the moment in Rome, only one half of it remains, only one side of it remains. But I think it is still one of the largest kind of Roman structures that remains in the world today. And we based it almost entirely off that. You can tell the kind of Roman influence on that building.
It's so cool. I love how every pillar is a different height and a different level of sort of what's left of it, including this one down here that barely has anything left. It's just really nice planning. And especially, Jerm, do you see this one? How the sides are missing and it shows like that it's just a facade and it's actually made of something else.
Yeah, that's really cool.
They did that a lot in ancient Rome, because obviously marble is very expensive. What they would do is kind of have panels of marble, and they would actually hang them on the brick, so to kind of create a sort of facade. Because obviously making something out of solid marble is a lot more expensive than just doing it.
This is super cool. Jerm, we gotta build one of these. This is amazing.
Yeah, I'm really wanting to do some runes now.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about ruins is, especially in a world that you're making up kind of on the fly, is that you can put them just about anywhere along the road and then write a storyline around it. Whereas where these guys are going, it's like things have to be in certain places. So, do you find that, Fortnite? Do you find that to be freeing or constricting? Because I could see it going either way.
Well, for me, my primary motivator in leading this server and doing it is kind of a love for Tolkien's world, which I've had for years. So for me, I kind of wouldn't want to be doing anything different. I'm very happy to see these places recreated in the right position, in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always said that especially with a location like Annuminas, which was actually never directly described in Tolkien's works. It was only ever like a part of the history or a dot on the map. It was never like the characters never went there at any point to see what it looked like. So we could come up with entirely our own interpretation of what it might have looked like and what it would look like at this point. So we actually do have a lot of creative freedom in many places. There's only a really very few places in terms of the total where we have to sort of be very slavish and very careful with what we're building. It's because of the way that things were described. So most of the time we are very creatively free, and I think that the nice thing about building this world is, I don't think there's anyone on our team who could be as imaginative and creative and as knowledgeable as Tolkien was, right? So we could never make this world without his vision in the first place.
Sure.
We could never make anything as good as this without his vision to kind of inspire us. So for me, it's a really perfect kind of blend of creativity and guidance, I think.
So now I just have a question. It feels like we're moving into the interview segment, but I just have a question. I'm just dying to know, so you've been at this for over 4 years. Is there ever a time that you're like, you know what? I just want to generate a new world and just make something cool. Even, I mean, not do away with this, but just, do you ever want to just do your own thing in this? Or is this really just your only sort of artistic thing that you're doing?
Well, I may be cutting out here. But for me, this is varied enough. In this world is varied enough that I never really feel the need to go and do something else. I mean, on this world, we have elven cities, we have dwarven mines, we have villages, we have all sorts, and so I never feel like that I'm having to build the same thing over and over again. I'm getting bored of it because there's always something new to do. So I have that need. No, I'm very content with what.
Okay, we're back. Fortnite, where are we?
So we are in an area of Middle-earth called the Trollshaws. So these are an area of hills just to the west of Rivendell, and they're famous for kind of two main things happening in the story. Firstly, in The Hobbit, this is where Bilbo met the three trolls and kind of spent the night almost being cooked, and then eventually they were all turned to stone by Gandalf. And then in the Lord of the Rings, Frodo and the others go through here. Frodo's already been stabbed by the Nazgul. He's very sick, and eventually it culminates in the chase and the washing away of the Nazgul at the Ford of Breen and before he reaches Rivendell. So this is an area that was also part of Arnor, but it was eventually kind of split off and became a kingdom called Rudar, and that kingdom fell into kind of decay and became evil with time, and eventually sided against the rest of Arnor in the war that destroyed the whole kingdom. So the ruins that you're seeing here are all part of that ancient kingdom as well. And what I really like about this area is this fantastic blend, I think, of kind of terrain, of trees, autumnal trees, and then you have the ruins kind of sticking out amongst them as well. So I'm a big fan of it.
This is crazy. I just saw something that is probably going to be... I mentioned this might be frustrating for you because, the coolest thing, I think, maybe, potentially, is down this hill. Jerm, come down the hill with me. The ruins are super cool. The trees, the foliage, all of it looks awesome. But the thing that blows my mind is when you get to the bottom of this little valley, how you have a stream running through it.
Yeah, well, we're very proud of our streams. We have quite literally thousands of them on the map. All of them have been dug by hand, and all of them kind of conform to a realistic kind of hydrology system. So there is a mode on our Dyn map where you can switch between the different modes, and one of them shows you where all the streams and rivers are, and you can see that all of the streams start and they coalesce together and they grow into bigger streams, and then they eventually go into rivers, and all of the rivers go to the sea. So every single time you find a stream on our server, if you follow it for long enough, you'll reach the sea.
That is amazing. That is amazing. I mean, That's like, so that, okay, so I know we talked about this last time we did a tour. Like, I was like, yeah, this huge amazing building is amazing, but look at this rock in the water or something, you know. I know. But like that is what kind of does it for me, that attention to the really, really small details. So when you're walking through, like, this is how the world is, you know. The world is, you walk through here and you have to jump over this little stream, and it's at the low point, and it's perfectly done. I'm blown away.
It's a nice area for sure. If you head, so right next to you, if you go keep going along the road,
West.
you'll find a little west. Yeah, there's a little village there. So that village is a lot more recent than the ruins you were just at. And the villagers there lived there until quite recently. You can see some of the roofs still on the houses and so on. But that village was abandoned fairly recently because of trolls and so on moving into the area and kind of making it unfriendly for humans. So they would have fled away further south.
This is amazing. I mean, this
Yeah,
is
this
amazing.
is really cool.
You know, and Jerm, this wouldn't take that long to build in survival, this kind of thing. I mean, this is something that we could knock out, you know, you knock it out in a couple days, but it'd be a really nice thing to add to the world.
Yeah, it really would.
Especially, you know, you're just walking. I mean, not to mention this, like, red, I don't know what kind of block that is. What is it, red sand?
Sandstone.
Yeah, red sand. Like a nice red sandstone outcropping there. Looks, it's just, I wouldn't think of it, but you see it and you're like, yeah, that needs to be there. That's so good. We talked about this before, Fortnite too. You have like geologists on your team, right? Like that actually like look over how the world would be.
That's correct. Yeah. So we try to maintain a fairly realistic set of geographical features on the server. So, you know, when we pick a rock type, we don't just pick it randomly. You know, it does kind of make sense for the area as much as we can make it. Obviously, geology is an incredibly complicated subject, and we're never going to have full realism. But at the end of the day, you know, it is Minecraft. But we do make the effort when it comes to geology, for sure.
Well, this is super cool. This is too. Oh, there's even little kind of rock piles and stuff. Man, that adds a lot too. I gotta remember this.
The other thing I wanted to point out in that region is if you fly kind of pretty much directly to the north of you, right up to the top of that big hill, there's a ruined castle up there too. Quite a large one, actually, which I'm a big fan of.
I was just gonna ask you. Before. Oh my, yeah. It's a large. Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. And what's amazing is you can't even see this really from the road, and you still put all the time and effort into making this perfect and awesome.
Oh no, I mean the thing about our world is that, you know, there are literally builds that are thousands and thousands of blocks away from the main road, which you would, I mean, never find if you were just walking around. But we do it anyway because, you know, we are trying to make a whole world here and not just a world that extends, you know, a few hundred blocks to either side of our roads.
Right. That's amazing. I mean, this is beautiful. So Fortnite, do you have any? We were just talking because we're in the midst of planning a castle over in Vasten. Do you have any castles in this world? Because I don't think I've seen one the times I've been here.
Well, we do have one pretty significant one, actually. Yeah. I don't know. Do we have time for it in this video?
We'll probably have to get it next time. But maybe that'd be a good place to.
Yeah, definitely. I'll just say that it's Helm's Deep.
Ooh.
And leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay. There's a teaser. So come back next time, and you'll get to see Helm's Deep. So anyway, so Fortnite, thank you so much for bringing us by. Jerm, do you have any wise words?
No, I don't know anything.
All right, thank you so much for coming by, and we'll see you next episode. Don't forget, please subscribe to Jermsy Boy and me if you want to. ArdaCraft, it's ArdaCraft.me, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, ArdaCraft.me. It'll be in the description, but it's brilliant, and you can get on here just if you want to. Like, you just get the ArdaCraft launcher on their website, and you can just get on and walk around just like we are. Like, we have no special super permissions. We just logged on just like anyone can, so it's super cool. And boy, talk about inspiration is this is it.
Yeah, seriously.
So thank you so much for the tour, Fortnite, and Jerm. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see everyone next time.
See you.